Good morning and very warm welcome to all of you in the virtual conclave on higher and technical education organized by ELETS. And today we welcome you on this conclave. This conclave will be going through from morning to evening, and we will have various different sessions on different topics related to this current COVID crisis and also related to innovation and various other important aspects of higher and technical education. So today we are starting with the inaugural session of higher and technical education conclave, which is also quite focusing on Rajasthan. And in the inaugural session with with the topic revolution in policy regulation and post COVID-19 roadmap for higher and technical education, I welcome all of you. And I also welcome our eminent panelist in the stage, the program chair, Dr. Shuchi Sharma, IAS, Secretary of Higher and Technical Education, Government of Rajasthan. A very warm welcome, madam.
Thank you. Namaskar.
I also welcome Professor Anil D. Sahasrabudhe, Chairman of All India Council for Technical Education, AICT. We welcome you, Mr. Sahasrabudhe. And I welcome Dr. Mrs. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General of Association of Indian Universities. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Abdul Samad, who is Special Secretary of Higher Education, Government of Uttar Pradesh, will join us later. He has some engagement, so he will join us later. And but I'll request the moderator for the day, for the session, founder and CEO of ELETS Technomedia, Dr. Ravi Gupta, to kindly take it forward and moderate this session. Dr. Ravi Gupta.
Sure. Karthik, I think there is some technical issue at Professor Sahasrabudhe side. Please coordinate, right? And
Yes.
We'll start the session. Yeah.
Yes, sure,
Thank you.
sure.
Yeah. So I welcome all the audience and all our eminent speaker here in the session. And this is the higher and technical education virtual conclave we are doing. We are focusing on the state of Rajasthan, and we have organized this program under the guidance of Dr. Shuchi Sharma ji, who is Secretary Higher and Technical Education, Government of Rajasthan. Welcome, madam. And we have our keynote speaker, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, who is the Secretary General of Association of Indian Universities. Welcome, Dr. Pankaj. So thanks for joining us. And while Dr. Sahasrabudhe is joining, he has some technical issue. So we will start the session. And I'm requesting Dr. Shuchi Sharma to please give your address. And the topic of this inaugural panel is revolution in the policy regulations and post-COVID-19 roadmap for higher and technical education. So we are all seeing a huge disruption in this higher education sector post-COVID, and a lot of changes are happening daily. The situation is evolving daily in the COVID-19, and because of that, the response to it is also evolving and changing every week almost. So how are these changes, which is a pandemic and which is a health disaster and is impacting the overall higher and technical education scenario? I will request Dr. Shuchi Sharma to please talk about it. Welcome.
Thank you, Ravi Gupta ji. And I will start with congratulating you. And it is quite a disruptive kind of a technology that we are organizing. The ELITS is organizing this HR conclave on in this mode, on this E mode, and this is something great. And I think this is happening for the first time in the country. So congratulations to your team for always thinking innovatively to have some innovative solutions. Dr. Professor Dr. Anil D. Sahasrabuddheji, Chairman AICT, Dr. Mrs. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General, Association of Indian Universities. And I am fortunate to have you as the experts on this panel. I chanced to meet Dr. Pankaj Mittal in a private university conclave organized in ICG here in Jaipur. And she is quite a dynamic lady, and she takes forth the problems of the universities, and she has imaginations also how to make the universities modern and more fruitful for the students of the country. Dr. Sahas Buddhe is no doubt a very positive. I am highly impressed with his simple and this very positive personality, and he has really contributed a lot during his tenure to the cause of the technical education in the country. And Rajasthan is one of the most benefited states from his policies, I must say. What I feel about technical education in our country, and especially in Rajasthan, is that there is a lot of emphasis on the number of educational institutes, but somehow in this course, the quality suffers. Now, AICT has really worked upon this quality aspect of the education, and they are working upon how to make it more fruitful for the students. They are removing the redundancies in the syllabus, and I must congratulate Sahas Buddheji and his team that they have in fact revolutionized the technical education by 360 degree. The whole syllabus they have worked upon. They have formed the committees to look into the contents of the course we are providing to the students through these educational institutes. And they are working upon how to make it more employable kind of a syllabus. And heads off to their efforts. We have, in fact, adopted the model curriculum of AICT, and we had a workshop with him. He chaired a workshop here, and we had long deliberations over this, how to make our education, technical education in Rajasthan more progressive. And so brilliant ideas had come from their team, from Sahas Buddheji, and they were so positive and responsive to our problems also. And the model curriculum was also discussed in details in that workshop. And I would like to inform you, Sahas Buddheji, that we have adopted your modern curriculum absolutely with certain modifications for our state. And the polytechnic, in our polytechnic colleges, the whole syllabus has been reformed, and from this new session we will be adopting that. It has been declared, it has been confirmed, it has been approved by the Honorable Minister also. And I am thankful to your team and your efforts and your directions for that. Our students will be certainly benefited with what you have done. The employability quotient is the most important when we look into the syllabus curriculum of the technical education and higher education also, but because Sahas Buddheji is sitting here, so I would be sharing more for technical education. This is something we have. In fact, we have the annual system in polytechnic education, which had a lot of problems. Now we are shifting to the semester system from this session, from the new session. So these things we have done. Now coming on this COVID challenges, COVID challenges. It is an unforeseen, unprecedented kind of a crisis we are facing. The whole world is facing, and our country is facing. And we will have to think about instant solutions. Every day, every fortnight, the directions are changing because it is an unprecedented kind of a thing. And for any administrator, for any policymaker, it is really difficult to give immediate solutions in in this VUCA scene, this volatile uncertainty and absolutely uncertain and very what to say about it. To decide under such situation is really a big challenge to the administrators and policymakers. But still, we will have to move on. And what we have now, we have come to the conclusion that e-content is at present the most important solution. E-learning, e-contents. Here, I would like to inform you, the panelists here, and those who are listening, those who are participating in this, that we have started converting. In fact, when I participated in your conclaves only, I had chance 3-4 times to participate in your conclaves, and I had been discussing about the e-learning. With Sahaj Buddhiji also, I was telling that we have started converting the lectures into e-content, and with a very simple solution that the faculty here is recording their lectures on the topics into e-content and uploading on YouTube, because that is the most cheaply and most widely available platform. It can be used at any time. It doesn't have that constraint that you will have to spare some hour and then teacher and student will have to sit face to face and then talk something. Students are free to use those content at whenever they feel free, whenever they have the availability of internet. So this is something great we have done, and almost 25,000 lectures of technical education, polytechnic and engineering colleges have been uploaded. And I must thank to our universities, our VC University, our Director Technical Polytechnic Education, the teachers who have done these efforts. And this COVID has come as this COVID crisis has come as an opportunity for us. We used this opportunity as during the work from home, they recorded their lectures. If even one lecture is recorded per day by 1,000 lecturers, then it can be a huge number. So we are working on that, and we will, of course, it needs a lot of improvement also, and we will be doing that. But the best thing is our students are not now deprived of learning from our side. And this thing is getting popular. Now MHRD and AICT is also giving directions for us, for everyone to go for e-learning. And this is the only solution visible at present, in the present scenario, because despite unlocking, a lot of hesitation is there, and to keep in view the social distancing and all the norms, it won't be possible to hold the classes as it used to be earlier. We will have to think the solutions about the classes, how to hold the classes of the students, how to start the admissions of the students, how to take the exams. These are the challenges, real challenges we are facing, and everyone is facing. Pankaj Mittal ji is sitting here. She would also put some light on that. And Sahaj Buddhiji will also give us direction. This is the greatest worry for us. We are discussing these issues with e-learning forums also, like Coursera and other forums. And there are many firms which are approaching us that they can give some e-learning courses for the students. Then how to incorporate the e-content, e-learning courses into the syllabus. This is also a challenge. We will have to include them so that they can be evaluated and can be part of the exam, part of the evaluated courses. Sahas Buddheji, I would request Sahas Buddheji to, I think they are already doing on this, how to incorporate the e-content in the main syllabus and making it credited, so that if the students learn some courses from Coursera or some other e-learning platforms, it doesn't go waste. So these are the challenges we are facing, and I would like to hear from the panelists, the experts sitting over here, how would they come out with solutions. There are many participants also here. They would also like to suggest, give us some suggestions, and we would be enriched by this, by all the suggestions, and I am open to all the suggestions. I would like to hear from you all. Thank you that you gave the opportunity, and this is a great conclave. Again, I must congratulate Dr. Ravi Gupta. He is doing a wonderful job in promoting a quality education in the country. Thank you.
And the kind of steps you are taking in your state to promote online learning. You have requested each of the faculty to create a video online. That is a great step towards building capacity of the teachers and also generating content which is useful and relevant for the students also. So we have with us Professor Anil D. Sahasrabudhe, and we are all waiting for his keynote address, and we are all aware that AICT is working a lot in these times to bring in lot of innovations for building the online education ecosystem in the country. So requesting Dr. Sahasrabudhe to please give your keynote address. So
yeah, thank you. Namaskar. Good morning to all of you. First of all, Madam Suchi Sharma, who is Secretary Higher and Technical Education from Rajasthan, she gave her opening address, and I was going in and out because of the internet connectivity problems. So please excuse me if I have missed out something, but whatever I have heard from her, I would like to touch upon in my inaugural address as well. Dr. Pankaj Mittal, DG of AIU, I was just joking that we meet now more often than earlier because of the
Yes,
virtual
that's
seminars
true.
and webinars. Otherwise, once in a month we used to have some meeting, but now almost alternate day we are on the same platform. This is because of people like Ravi Gupta, who has been making this possible. Dr. Ravi Gupta, thank you very much from LX. Whatever you are doing is great, and I have participated in all your conferences in Rajasthan, in fact in Jaipur itself.
Yes.
And then take participants, Pradeep Kumar Borad, Commissioner. I think all of them are passionate about education. That's why on a lockdown period, in a holiday, people are coming early in the morning and attending this kind of a webinar. Well, there are 2-3 things which I would like to start off with before coming to what Madam has reflected upon and what we are doing. The first and foremost, this was a sudden shock, this COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore closing down of institutions was certainly a shock. And all of us are now today talking about online education, online courses, but there was some preparation which was already there from MHRD, AICT and UGC in terms of starting a portal called Swayam, which is a national indigenously developed MOOCs portal, where there are more than 2,500 courses. There are 1.5 crore students using this over a period of time. And then there are 147 countries are also watching, forget about India. So I think it has grown in large numbers. Still, it is much less compared to some of the world.
I think some connectivity issues have happened. Let's hope that it gets resolved soon. So that's the challenge of technology, actually.
I know. Yes.
Need to address this issue as well. But anyway, so we were prepared for that some way. And therefore, after the lockdown, when the colleges got closed and many of them started using online their own video lectures which were created from their own faculty or from Swayam platform, there were 2-3 things which happened. One of them is there were institutions who were well prepared. They were already using these platforms. And for them, this transition was very, very smooth. And in fluid mechanics, there is what is known as laminar flow. So there is no disturbance at all, and it goes as smoothly as it was going on earlier. The other variety where they had some wherewithal, some training, but they were not using fully because they didn't know the power of this tool, and therefore they had to take some time to adjust, and they were on the boundary layer. And then there were others who did not have any wherewithal, no training, nothing of that sort, and therefore they had to struggle a lot in order to catch up, or they have not caught up also. They are in the turbulent layer, in the outside the boundary layer. I think this is what happened for institutions. Then, Madam, you talked about VUCA world, and this is certainly a case of VUCA. This was a volatile situation. There is absolutely uncertainty amongst faculty, teacher, students, managements, and government, and everyone. And the situation is complex. Every day there are new developments. We do not know whether lockdown will continue, how long it will continue, what are the number of cases coming up. So very complex situation, and also ambiguous, because we don't know exactly what reaction the government or the people have to give to that, and whether it is labor problem, students problem. So there were huge issues. So it was a true case of VUCA world. But I always catch up and with a positive outlook rather than negative one. You come from the reverse side, the same B, U, C, A, and you come to A instead of ambiguity. If you have a good attitude of changing yourself as per the requirements and commit yourself to that, and therefore the next one is C, that is commitment, whether it is in terms of collaboration, whether it is in terms of cooperation. If we do work together, and U stands for unity. So if all of us, whether which state and which community and all that, we remain united, that B, volatility, will actually become really volatile, and it will evaporate, and finally there is a victory, V for victory. So I think that VUCA will get into victory mode actually, and that's what happened, because many of these things which we had wherewithal, we never experiment. So this COVID-19 crisis gave opportunity to all of us to do many things. So, Madam, you referred to how we bring in the curricular changes, and I'm very thankful that Rajasthan is the first government which has adopted entirely the polytechnic curriculum which we had given. And secondly, as far as other degree program curricula are concerned, we had worked on it for last 3 years, and there were already SWAYAM courses. We never thought of matching them. So we give for every course, at the end of the course or the content of the course, we give textbook and also reference book. So this time, during this period, we had several committees and who gave us which SWAYAM course is most appropriate for that course. So the matching or how the particular content of the course can be dealt with by the corresponding SWAYAM course was done. So this is like matchmaking. And now in the curriculum, in addition to the textbook and reference book, in the bottom, you will see the connected reference course, which is a MOOC course. If it is 100% matching to the university curriculum, you will use it as a textbook kind of a thing. If 60%, 50%, 70% is adaptable from out of that course, you call it as a reference book. So I think this is one big change which has happened in all the courses. We did that, and we found that there are 38 very important courses. And this matchmaking was done essentially for all courses, but we concentrated on another area of translation, because many students, when they come in the first year, they are not very comfortable with English, and they are comfortable in their own local Indian languages. There are 22 languages, but SWAYAM had decided that we should translate in at least 10 languages, of which 8 languages are picked up, starting from Hindi, Tamil, Marathi, Telugu, Malayalam, Gujarati, Bengali, Odia, and so like this. Each one of these languages are important with large population, and therefore translating those English courses into these languages is also very important, and we started doing that. But we said doing for all these 2,500 courses is going to be a challenge. It's not so easy.
Yes.
And before we set up again a committee to look at 4 angles. Number one, the first year courses. So all the first year courses must be available in local language, because they are fresh to the college, and to get adjusted, they will take some time. And second year, third year, naturally, they will understand English and they will start adjusting to that environment. So first is first year courses. The next one is certain fundamental courses. In each discipline, there are some base courses without which you don't understand the future courses, and therefore which we call in general prerequisites for a higher level course. So all these courses were also listed. The third one is those where in the university examinations there are large failures. So very fact that there are large failures means they are not able to understand that, and therefore how do we get those courses where university examinations declare large students as failures? That is another third area. And the fourth one is most popular courses. Some electives and some courses large number of students take. And if you take all these four segments, we came to 138. So initially it came to about 298. We reduced them to 138, and of which 118 nearly courses are available in the MOOCs platform. So the remaining are to be created also. There are no courses available in SWAYAM. So the second task was to create the courses in those 28 odd courses on one side, and then translation in all of these courses which are available. I think this has been taken on very great priority. This will help the entire nation in terms of educating them right from their first year when they come into the institutions. So this is one part of the story. The second part of the story is how do we engage students in terms of real online education, because this social distancing is going to continue, if not for a year or so, but at least certainly for next 6 months. And therefore, all students coming to the institution every day is likely to be a more difficult situation, a complex situation, uncertain situation. And therefore, what we need to do is maintaining social distance means less students to come to the. One is staggering of the timetable in the first place. And then in every class, don't call all students. You call maybe 30%, 40%, or at most 50% students. The rest of them will stay back in their hostel rooms or at their homes and take the same class which is happening online into the mode of the online education and using internet. I think this is an innovation which we all have to probably do. And in the process, we will learn even how to use these tools more effectively, how we rotate these students, because everyone has to come someday to the college to have the actual physical, the relationship between faculty and students in terms of understanding each other, values, ethics being inculcated. This cannot be done on the platform like, what we say online platform. So theoretically, you can give lectures on values, but unless a faculty member practicing that is not seen by a student, he will not get it out of that. And therefore, we need both versions, and therefore a mixed mode or a hybrid mode, or you call blended mode, in a new way we will have to invent, and we'll have to do it. But the third part, which many students have been writing to us, is about internships. For last 2 years, we have made internships as mandatory, and some of the students had got internship this summer also, but this is not possible because industries are not allowing them to join, because the industry itself is closed. And even if now some of the industries are getting opened up, I am sure that they will not allow large chunk of students to come in, because there is always a risk both for students as well as from students to the employees of the organization. And so many of them are not allowing it. So we have innovated already earlier also, but we are now emphasizing that why not internship also be done on the online mode. So we have an internship portal developed where more than about 2.5 lakh internships are available. Students will choose the area, the type of job that they would like to do, and industries will post such internships, and there would be a sort of matchmaking in the area of their interest. And then there will be an industry mentor who will continue to give them a problem statement, ask their progress, how they are working on that, and thereby the learning may not be same as that of going to an industry, because live experience is live. Because in many cases I have seen in the laboratory scale experiments, many a times we have an experiment which is done on turbo machines, on IC engines, on aeroplane, etc., which is a tabletop model. And when a student gets into an industry for actual job, he is totally lost actually. He doesn't know that power plant or chimney which he sees in a textbook diagram is 1 inch long and all that, and he sees some 25-meter long chimney in the actual industry. So he doesn't understand the scale that is involved. And therefore going to actual industry is certainly valuable. I'm not saying denying that, but in the given situation, how effectively we can do as much as possible. Whether it is 85%, 90% effective is what we need to look at. And then the next one was the new courses which have been added to the curriculum in terms of courses like AI, IoT, machine learning, deep learning, 3D printing, robotics. we all say that new jobs are going to be in these areas, and these are required to be in the curriculum. And so we started training of faculty through what is known as Atal Academies. And again, I'm happy, madam, and thankful to you for giving the first Atal Academy land in the Polytechnic in Jaipur. And the building is about to start getting constructed. Because of lockdown, some delays may be there. But Khaitan Polytechnic is the location where behind the Polytechnic we are going to have a grand building where this Atal Academy is going to come. And post this, 3 other academies also we announced, one in Thiruvananthapuram, Guwahati, and Baroda, because these are east, west, north, and south regions. But then many technical universities came forward and said, we will give you land, we will give you our own space which is already built, and you continue with those academies in our place. There are now as many as 11 Atal academies, and this course of conducting for faculty development program is going on. But suddenly, because of lockdown, we got locked. So many workshops which were planned had to be stopped. And then we again use the same platform, like we are now meeting on the live chat, here, and everyone is watching us and listening to us, and they can also ask questions. We use the same mode and modality, and we have had now nearly more than 45 such workshops. I've lost count. Because initially, we used to say now 7 workshops in examination reforms, 25 workshops in Atal Academy, another 20 in what is known as Universal Human Values and Ethics and Student Induction Program. But now we have lost it, because there were also research-based workshops, all kind of things, plus 40 workshops. People like Ravi Gupta keep calling us, and I have not kept the count, but I have crossed some 70, 80, nearing a century of such, giving talk and then listening to people and all that. So I think we have changed a lot. And post COVID-19, despite we all come together in a live building, and that live activity is also very important. But this learning which we have made use of will continue, because in a live workshop of faculty development program, we were not able to accommodate more than about 50 people because of accommodation of the hall in which the practice sessions were held, or the hostel facility or the guest house facility. These were all restrictive and very exorbitantly costly, including the travel. So now we have adopted to this new methodology. So we will have 50-50 workshops, both on online mode and face-to-face mode. And same thing will be continued in terms of our classes, in terms of our examinations, in terms of all our activities. To the extent that one of the charges on AICT was these inspection committees which used to visit colleges for checking the facilities that exist in the institution, called as expert visit committees, used to be like terror, for institutions. They were always afraid what will they ask and whether we will be able to show it or not. And there were allegations also of wrongdoings by some of the experts, sometimes rightly, sometimes wrongly, and sometimes unnecessarily. Our excellent faculty members who were very strict were charged that they were corrupt or something like that. So now we have evolved a mechanism by which everything is online. No expert will go to an institution to inspect the facilities, nor the college will have to come to AICT's regional office or the headquarters in Delhi, and they will all be in their respective locations. We will open the Microsoft Teams ID, which is issued to all of them, 5-6 people from the institution, 3 experts, 1 from AICT, and the experts will ask various requirements. Right from getting into the gate of the building, the queue will start, and then the GPS coordinates of the location is also located, so that one cannot cheat, that showing facilities of another institution and claiming that it is ours cannot be done, because you have latitude, longitude also fixed, actually, it will be also noted. Then showing workshop, showing laboratory, showing computer center, showing library, showing classroom, everything will happen on the platform. A laptop can be carried from place to place with Wi-Fi connectivity on the campus, and experts will ask questions, and everything will be live recorded. And maybe it will run for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. The interaction with the faculty, interaction with students, all of that gets recorded, and ultimately it will be stored on the cloud. And if there is any charge levied against each other, we will verify it, and no one can deny that, because it is in black and white. Black and white in the sense it is actually colored, because it's a video which is in color form, not black and white alone. So I think we have moved away. And this we were trying to implement for the last couple of years using ISRO's facility, but somehow it was not working because we didn't have enough infrastructure. But today, these platforms like Microsoft Teams or Google Hangout, Google Classroom, or we have a WebEx platform, all these are very, very useful tools as long as you have internet. And now I will come to the last one, that is internet availability, because we all said whatever we said so far is all useful when you have a regular, uninterrupted, good connectivity. I think these are the absolute requirements. Without that, all of that, what I spoke is futile. And that is where we face challenges. Now, sitting in what is known as Lutyens, Delhi, adjacent to the High Court in my residence, if the internet connectivity goes out and comes in, fortunately, when I started speaking, only there was one interruption, but earlier there were 3 interruptions. So I can imagine in a rural area, in a tribal area where the connectivity is bare minimum, how do we engage? And therefore, a lot of innovations are required on that front. There is a cabinet committee headed by one of the cabinet ministers, that is Dharmendra Pradhan, Petroleum Minister, along with 3 other ministers of state. They are engaged in this dialogue with us, and we have given lots of suggestions, including improvement in the infrastructure in terms of IT, like electricity to all villages, internet to all villages, should be the new slogan, and not just internet to all the villages, internet to every home. And then very, very sound internet connectivity, uninterrupted connectivity, like uninterrupted power supply. So I think maybe power supply is not so much important now, because with solar energy, they may have the power, but without internet, we will not be able to survive. Though that is also effective in e-governance, it is also required for a classroom, it may be required for examination, it is required for everything on the earth, and then for watching many things. We have to only educate our people to use right material. And that is the training which we require to give to all stakeholders, whether faculty, students, and administrators, that there can be misuse, but don't misuse it, but use it for the right purpose. With this message, I think there are a lot of challenges, but there are lots of opportunities, and many solutions have come during this COVID-19 crisis, including for developing the medicine for this, that is, whether it is masks, whether it is ventilators. I think tremendous things have been done by our stakeholders, and we are one of the luckiest nations who have helped each other in this process. And that's why when I told in the VUCA world that collaboration, cooperation, and commitment is what has made us, through unity, victorious so far. And let us continue this victory forward. Thank you very much, and namaskar.
Fantastic, Anilji, amazing speech, and this point about the online assessment of the like colleges and universities, where the inspection is stopped and it is done online, is a very, very interesting innovation, and several other innovations which are mentioned are very inspiring. Shuchiji, you want to comment about Dr. Shastri Buddhe's speech? Like any questions or anything you want to ask him right now?
Shastri Buddheji, no doubt, it was a brilliant, in fact, it was an absolutely solution-oriented speech. Yes. And I was, no doubt, he is always with solutions. And his VUCA is turning into the victory with the unity and with his imaginations. So means, yes, he is already working, and we are always getting directions from AICT for that, and it is going to help us. We are stuck up with our exams till now. The online exams will have to be looked into. And as I said, that how to incorporate the e-learning content into the main syllabus, credited in the credited form. That we are, in fact, we are seeking solutions for that. I am really thankful to Shastri Buddheji, and they are already working upon all this. And I am very much hopeful that this VUCA situation is going to turn into, instead of volatility, into victory. Thank you.
Great. And I will request Dr. Pankaj Mittal, who is Secretary of the Association of Indian Universities, to give your address and explain that how are these universities are handling these situations in these challenging times.
Thank you, Raviji. First of all, thanks to you for inviting me. Thanks to Akash also, who has been in touch with me regularly. Shuchiji, it's good that you remember that we shared the dais in our West Zone Vice Chancellor's Conference, which was held in Jaipur. And there we spoke about reimagining Indian universities. But I didn't know that this reimagining situation will come so soon, that we have to
Yes.
really reimagine the universities so
Yes.
fast.
Yes.
So, as I prefer to call it, we say that the world is now divided into two parts, BC and AC, before Corona and after Corona. And AC, that is after Corona, the world has to be a totally different world. When everybody is talking about a new normal, that there will be a new normal in every field, whether it is tourism industry, restaurant industry, entertainment industry, working in the offices, traveling, everything. And of course, education is no exception. But one thing which I want to say is that something, a brighter side of Corona, which I can say is that what I have seen is that our teachers who were very camera shy, who were not wanting to embrace technology, who were afraid of technology, who were afraid of online technology, all of a sudden overnight, many of our teachers have embraced technology and with full heartedly. So that is something, a brighter side of Corona, if we can see. But when we talk of how the future universities will be and what the central government and the state government should be doing to sort of promote future university, to promote online education, to promote future learning. So some points, many of them have already been said by Professor Sahasrabudhe, and whatever he has said, that I say ditto. Plus, I will add something more, and maybe there are some repetitions also. So what I feel is that the governments, which what they should be doing, I will be going 1, 2, 3, 4, like 7, 8 points. First, as Sir also said, Professor Sahasrabudhe, first thing which every government has to do is to create the infrastructure. I think the money we used to give for a lot of buildings and all that should now be diverted into infrastructure, technology, networking, bandwidth. Because unless the bandwidth is there, unless the networking is there, today also online education, only those universities are able to provide which are having good infrastructure at home also for the teachers and in the universities also. If good infrastructure, network infrastructure is not there, I'm talking of network infrastructure, not physical infrastructure. If good network infrastructure is not there, then all the buildings and all, they are obviously lying vacant today also. So the first and foremost priority of every government should be that AC, that is after Corona, online education has to stay. We cannot do away with online education. We have to agree that online education will be there along with face to face, as Sir said, that it will be a blended mode of education. Therefore, first step for every government is to create good technology, good technological infrastructure, networking, and bandwidth. Second is, once the infrastructure is there and teachers have the access to that technology, whether it is network or platform or devices, and the students also have, then the next thing is to train our teachers to teach online. Because right now capacity building of teachers to teach online is not there. In terms of online teaching, many of our teachers are only doing say some of them are sending just assignments by email, sending something by email, getting reply by email. That is not online teaching. Online teaching has to be synchronous, but for that we have to train our teachers. The elite institutions, like sir was also saying, elite institutions who are already using online platforms, they are ready and they are able to teach. But the rural areas, backward areas, they are really not knowing how to teach online. The few webinars which we see on the computers every day, that doesn't mean that the whole country is doing it. Only few are doing, many, but many are not doing nothing, anything. So therefore, we have to, first step for every government should be to train the teachers to teach online and to train the students to learn online. After infrastructure, second is capacity building of teachers as well as the students. Third is that once you want to teach online, you need a platform. And there are multiple platforms available for multiple uses. Like so I was talking about Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is there. Even AIU held a webinar, a live demonstration session for all the university teachers to tell them how to use Microsoft Teams. And it is good of Microsoft Teams that they have agreed to give it free of cost to all universities or colleges, all schools. So that Microsoft Teams, and that too, they have promised that not only during COVID time, throughout the lifetime, they will be giving Microsoft Teams software free of cost. So similarly, there are TCS Ion is there. They are also going to give it free. There is a Blackboard is there. So many platforms are there. But then one platform is good for something, second is good for something, third is good for something. So every platform has some feature which sort of outsmarts the other platforms. So you have to evaluate the platforms, have to guide your teachers that which platform they should be using for optimizing the benefit of online learning. So third is choosing the best platform depending upon the purpose for which it is being used. Fourth, for which the universities are in a fix is assessment and evaluation. They are not understanding how to assess the students online, how to evaluate them online. Now UGC has issued a circular that for students who are not final year students, the assessment should be based on performance of this semester over this sort of internal examinations, plus the 50% should be based on the last semester examination. Some universities are adopting it, some are saying no, that will not be a right way, but they are wanting to assess the students, but they are not knowing how to assess the students. Now again, if the platform is there, if the infrastructure is there, it is possible to do assessment and evaluation. Now there are many platforms who are using the artificial intelligence to even conduct proctored examinations online. For example, in proctored examination, in general, when we hold, there is a teacher who is invigilating the examinations. But when that student has to do the examination from home, there is no one to proctor him. So there is a sort of a possibility of cheating or something. But when you use AI through these platforms, the camera of your laptop, it works like a proctor, it works like an invigilator. And the moment you sort of have a difference in your eyeballs, if they change or if the person changes because of face recognition, they know that some other person is taking the exam. So through AI they can very effectively see whether it is the student is doing it honestly or they are cheating. And if the cheating is there, they give one warning, two warnings, and then they take away the paper, and then they say okay, you cannot do further. So like this, universities have to make use of these online platforms. But one more thing which I would like to add here is that the universities should also not think that the 3 hour examination after the semester is the only way of testing the students. There can be many, many more ways. There can be assignments, there can be projects, there can be quizzes, there can be face to face interviews on Skype or online interviews. So there are multiple ways of assessing the students. So do not rely on only 3 hour examination after the end of the semester. So that was fourth, assessment and evaluation. Fifth, the biggest worry for the universities, especially the students, is the placements. In many places, the placement offers which were given to the students, they are also being taken away, or the placement offers are being withdrawn. So how to take care of the placements? So for this also, AIU did one webinar for the placement officers of the universities, in which we were talking of the online placements. So there was a platform in which the student has to upload the CV, and the AI, means through artificial intelligence, there is a matchmaking between the CV of the student and the requirements of the company. And if the matchmaking is complete, then a robot calls the student, tells that your matchmaking is there with this company, this is the profile of the company, this is the profile of the job, and this is the salary we can offer. Are you interested? If the student says yes, then the robot itself fixes an interview of the student online, and the online placement letters are issued. And if the student says no, then the report goes to the second company which had the matchmaking, and the second company again the same things are offered to the student, and the student decides whether to go for the interview or not. So these type of platforms are available. Similar is for the case of internships. There are many, many online internships available. Professor Sahasrabuddhe spoke about many of them. But online internships, the universities have to help, the governments have to help the students, because they are not very much aware of what all is available. So online internships as well as online placements. Now next point is, when you teach online, when you have done the capacity building, then of course there are many, there's a lot of software available, resources available right now. Online resources are in abundance, and most of them are free. Never in my life I have seen so much of online resource, whether it is NDLI or it is SWAYAM or it is NPTEL, or even foreign resources like edX, Coursera. Everybody is making it free right now. So we have to tell our students that now the classroom teaching and the learning restricted to only the classroom space, those days are over. and now the students have to learn online, and in future the degrees won't matter. What will matter is the knowledge base of the student, and it is an excellent time to have a lot of knowledge through many online resources, through many platforms. So all this is possible today, but the students have to be made aware of this. They have to be encouraged to do this, and then only the, like, I will remember there was a conference in IIM Bangalore where the CEO of edX, Professor Anant Agarwal, he is an Indian, he is the CEO of edX, he was there, and he told me that one day he was standing on the airport and one student came running and he touched his feet. So he asked, "Who are you?" He says, "Sir, आपकी वजह से मुझे नौकरी मिल गई." He says, "मैं तो I hardly know you. मेरी वजह से आपको नौकरी कैसे मिल सकती है?" He says, "I went to Tech Mahindra for a job, and I had done 10 edX courses, and there were many candidates even from IITs and NITs. पर मेरा knowledge base सबसे अच्छा था, and I was selected over and above them." So knowledge base is something which is very important, और आज की डेट पे knowledge acquire करना, समझना बहुत ज़्यादा आसान हो गया है because of technology, because of online resources. So we have to tell our students that please upgrade your knowledge, upskill yourself. अगर आपको कुछ नहीं आता है तो you should learn it. Not only knowledge, like one more thing which AIU did recently was, because the students were missing the campus life, they were out of their campuses and they were at home, and apart from teaching they cannot be doing padhai whole day. So what we did was we innovated and we started a campaign called Kuch Artistic Corona. Kuch Artistic Corona. So in that we asked every student that you give a video of 30 to 90 seconds, upload the video. It can be any art, it could be music, song, it could be dance, classical, any type of dance, then nazam, ghazal, like this, some categories were there. And you won't believe that we gave only 1 week's time, and we got around 576 universities participated, and we got something like 2,500 videos on that. Now we are evaluating and we'll be announcing the prizes also for second, third. So it's not only the sort of studies, it is also the entertainment which we have to innovate and see that the students do not miss their campus classes, plus campus life, sorry. And plus the teachers have to also learn developing online content, because there's a lot of content on this Swayam, but still we are deficient of content. We are having only 2,000 courses on Swayam, whereas the number of courses can be up to 10,000, 20,000. So we have to encourage our teachers that you develop courses for Swayam. The government of India is giving them funding also for developing Swayam courses, but the good teachers, till I was looking after Swayam, they were not coming forward, because good teachers were camera shy, and the bad teachers, not, I shouldn't say bad teachers, but the teachers who were not very good, they were ready to come, but they didn't have the content knowledge. So now we want teachers who have good content knowledge, and now because of this corona, many of them have learned to not to be camera shy, and they can be developing good courses. So you have to encourage your teachers to come forward and develop Swayam courses to enrich Swayam platform. Why should we be going to foreign platform if our own platform is very rich? So you have to encourage your teachers to develop good courses and come online. Apart from this, I think one more thing which I feel is internationalization of higher education. If your government can take a dig on that, that will be very important, because you already know that when we talk of international students, the number of students going out of India is around 7 to 8 lakhs. The number of students coming to India is around 46,000. And right now, when the students have taken admission in many foreign universities, all of them are sort of saying now we will convert into online, because the students are not able to visit those universities. So if it is online, why? I mean, basically the students wanted to go there for having the campus experience, foreign campus experience. If they are not able to go there, if there is only online education, then why not India? Why can't we improve our higher education to this extent that many foreign students can come here? And when you see this corona pandemic situation, you will see that Europe and America and Asian countries, if you compare, Asia appears to be a safer place so far. I don't know in future, but right now Asia appears to be a safer place than US and Europe. So maybe now there will be influx of foreign students in India. And if that happens, we should seize that opportunity. We should try to capture that opportunity and have more and more foreign students, for which we have to internationalize our curriculum. We have to have better teaching pedagogy. We have to adopt blended learning. We have to adopt flipped classroom model. We have to create international type of facilities for the students. But if all that we can do, maybe India will become a hub for international students in future. So I think Corona, although it's a bad thing, but then we can also see many opportunities in Corona. And if we see those opportunities, we can really see that the Indian higher education system appears as one of the biggest higher education systems in the world. So let us hope for the best. Thank you, Shuchi ji. Thank you, Sahasrabudhe sir. Thank you, Ravi ji. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Excellent presentation, Dr. Pankaj. And I will request Dr. Sahasrabudhe to please talk about some of the challenges which has been mentioned by Dr. Pankaj on the ground, like the challenges which the universities are facing. So, sir, you are not audible, sir.
Sir, mic mute पे होगा.
उन्होंने म्यूट किया है ना.
हाँ.
ठीक है, अभी आप बाहर आए.
हाँ,
I
sir.
think many of these challenges which we are going to face have been dealt with in my talk as well, and Adam Mittal ji has also pointed out that what are the challenges. But we have to not talk about challenges and difficulties, but we should talk about solutions. And solutions come by way of innovation. And innovations can be of all varieties. How we can segregate the class timetable, how we invite only one third of the students and still manage it. And then in terms of internet connectivity, I've said that the government has to put in efforts like infrastructure development of roads, railways, and airports, infrastructure in terms of not only electricity to all villages, but internet to all villages. They're very important things. But till it is achieved, there are not just Swayam courses, but Swayam Prabha courses also. There are 32 DTH channels which are available. In all these things, Swayam courses are there. And these are also live beamed actually every now and then. That is every day, 8 hours, 10 hours, 30. So if you have an antenna of costing 2,000 rupees anywhere in the country, where the ISRO entire region covered by our satellites, and therefore one can learn, one can attend to the classes. The only problem with that mode is it is one-way traffic. So you are able to hear the faculty teaching a course. But if you get some doubt, you are not in a position to ask them. And that is the challenge which these people face. And how do we come out of that? So even if you are locked down in your native place, which is a remote rural area, through you can use it. And for asking question and then getting your satisfactory reply, you have now innovated. There are CSs by society for a long time. There are also ripples, there are marriage.
There is some problem with the sound.
Yes, I think there is a connectivity issue which is there. So I think I'm
Actually, Chairman AICT should not be having a connectivity issue.
well,
Challenge starts from there.
yes. So let me request Dr. Shuchi Sharma to give your comments on some of the points which have been raised by Dr. Pankaj Mittal, and which is about the challenges. Yes.
Dr. Pankaj Mittal is what the issues she has raised. They are based on completely on the ground, and she has feedback from all the universities for that, and she has in fact raised very valid issues. The one most
is it on now?
Yes, sir. You can speak now. No, sir. Yes. We had lost.
We need to innovate, and I said CIC centers are already there where there is a connectivity. People should use common facilities of this nature. We could also connect to a village where there is an office, or it could be some temple also. Colleges. If you adopt all of them where facilities develop, students come there, and then it is within the reach of 5 meters, there must be possibility of learning from. ये मॉडल हम जब
सर आपकी आवाज ना ब्रेक करके आ रही है, समझ में नहीं आ रहा क्या बोल रहे हैं।
समझ नहीं आ पा रहा सर। हाँ, सर वो एक्चुअली
I
कनेक्टिविटी आ
think
रही
this problem is because of connectivity. Again, same, which I just said earlier. If you want, I will switch off the video. Maybe it will improve a little bit.
No, now it is okay.
So by switching off the video, probably the internet bandwidth will be effectively used for audio.
That will be better, sir. I think
also another
Yes.
innovation. See, whenever-
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we should do this as well. Whenever there is a difficulty, students can at least listen to the lecture as well as ask a question. So I think with low bandwidth also one can work. So there are immense possibilities. We need to innovate. And then there's another area where one has to do some. We are giving a challenging problem statement for our students in the hackathon. वो ऐसा है कि suppose like milk van goes and supplies milk in different places from a central dairy. Similarly, if the video material is all stored on some of the hard disks and you take a vehicle, go to different places, load it into a particular center's computer and then keep going ahead. Yesterday's, drive you collect it, new drive you submit it and come. If you do that, local area network can have access. So you don't require the real network.
I think Dr. Pankaj, you highlighted about the connectivity issue. You mentioned that more than the buildings, we need connectivity.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Connectivity is very, very important.
Where she has raised very valid points.
Yes.
Till Sahasrabudhe comes, I would like to give some feedback, some reactions to what she has said. All the points she has raised are very valid and they are straight from the ground. She has said the most important thing which has come out from her presentation is the training of the teachers. Is the most important thing. The teachers, as we are facing in Rajasthan also, because there were, when we started, when we issued the directions that they should go for the recording their lectures and uploading their lectures on the platform, there were lots of problems. First of all, the problem of the mindset. They were not at all used to all this, and they were not used to, and they had a great resistance, and they had a scare also that they are now on the e-lectures will be replacing their teachers, and
vacancies will reduce, which is not true.
yes, in future there won't be any recruitment for teachers, and their importance will fade out. That now this COVID-19 has given really a great opportunity for that. Now they are compelled to do that because there is no other option left out now. We had to continue the classes also because some courses were not completed and they had to go for that. They did it on WhatsApp and whatever the platforms they had. Some of them were able to record their lectures and upload on YouTube, some on other portals. But yes, they somehow managed it. But to make a good quality e-content, will have to have a good training of the teachers, as she has raised. She is very, very right in her approach to that. And I must request AICT to make some modules for that. If some ready solutions are there, and if they can suggest some.
Madam, AIU has been holding many workshops for the teachers, for training the teachers to teach online. So if you wish, we can be helping your government teachers.
Yes, that will be great. That will be great. If you have some modules, yes.
We contacted some agencies and they did some courses for teaching the teachers online. And we can have many more such courses. So whenever we hold next, or if you want that we can hold it for your own teachers, so you just send a request letter and we will hold a special class for your teachers, maybe multiple workshops for your teachers. Like
That
right
will be
now,
great.
also we are holding one workshop, which is a 1 week workshop on university social responsibility. That what is the responsibility of the university towards the community around the university. So that is a
Yes.
1 week course which is going on right now, which will be over today. That's a Friday. It
Mhm.
must have been over. Yesterday it was over. 5 days course was
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
Similarly, we had 3 days workshop on online. 3 days workshop was there. 3 times we held that 3 days workshop on
Mhm.
teaching teachers how to teach online. We
Yes.
collaborated with some foreign bodies also, but then we have many people approaching us that we want to hold such workshops if you want for your teachers. So if you feel that it can, if
That
you
will be
your
great.
teachers are in need of
Yes.
it,
Yes.
so please
Yes.
write to me and then we will do it.
Yes. Yes. I will do
And,
that
and if your
because they are.
university wants that free Microsoft Teams software, then
Yes.
in the webinar which we did with them, that the recording is available on Twitter handle of UGC and my Twitter handle. Mine is Pankaj UGC, and for them,
Okay.
our AIU is AIU India. In the Twitter handle, that recording is there. In recording, there are some email IDs given. If you write to that email ID, the concerned university writes to that email ID, then you can get free Microsoft Teams software lifetime. So please
Okay.
tell your teachers to see that recording, see
Okay.
the mobile that email. I mean, they will also know how to use Microsoft Teams. Plus, they will have access to that email ID where they have to write for getting the free copy of Microsoft Teams.
Oh, that will be a great help, and I'm thankful to you to apprise us about it. The other thing you have raised is that how to take the exams. You have given the great ideas about it, but I think this will have to be decided from the side of AICT and UGC and MHRD, and our universities will have to take up all that, and some policies can be formulated in that direction after that. The third one is your that time also I was very much impressed with your concept of internalization of the education, of the university education, and you are very right to say that now this is the right time that our education can be internationalized. And we have, in fact, we are so culturally rich and we have such a great history. We can always use these strengths for internationalizing our education. We can form very great contents on that. There can be a lot of content on spiritual education. Then there can be a lot of content on Indologies. So many things are Ayurveda, and there are so many strengths we have, and lot of international content, education content can be made on that. We can open our doors to the foreign students. They are in fact crazy. They are in fact inquisitive about all these esoteric things about Indian culture, and they want to know. And we can throw our courses out to them. This is the right opportunity, right time to do that.
Well, just
And
to add to that, for
yes,
internationalization, one more thing which we are doing, which may be of interest to you, is that AIU is making a network of international educators. Like there is a NAFSA, which is in USA based. So right now we are also thinking of making a network of international educators, in which all the universities who are doing good work in internationalization, all the directors of international education, all the teachers who are interested in internationalization, it will be a network of all those people. So there will be a sharing of best practices. Right now, many universities want to do internationalization, but they don't know how to go about it. There is no
yes,
national policy on internationalization of higher education, how to promote internationalization of higher education.
yes,
So we are making a network of international education in which there will be that will be a sort of a policy advising body to the government also. And for universities, it will be a sharing of best practices, and then they can learn from each other. One university can mentor the other university, and many of our universities can go in for internationalization, which right now are groping in dark, like how to do it. They want to do, but they don't know how to go about it. So that will help them in doing this.
yes,
So,
yes.
may I just
Yes,
interrupt?
Budeji is here.
Yes, sir is here and he's with me on the phone. So actually, I was connecting with on the phone the audio. So I will, sir. Can you speak, sir?
अभी अभी वो भी अभी वीडियो भी आ गया.
Yeah.
So should I should switch it? Yeah.
सहस्रबुद्धे सर, आप अपना वीडियो ऑफ करके फिर पोल के देखिए, शायद बेटर रहेगा, क्योंकि अभी आपकी आवाज ब्रेक कर रही है, तो वीडियो ऑफ करके शायद ठीक हो
Private
जाएगा।
chats, comments which are coming, and some question I didn't complete my answer, but anyway, as
Yes.
long as it is available, I would like to
Yes, sir.
tell few things which are
Sure.
relevant to many questions which are there. Many are
Yes, sir.
questioning about employability of graduates. Some of them are saying, why uniform syllabus? Why not autonomy? I think these are the issues which, right from independence, we are delving
Yes.
in. All education commissions which were appointed talked about autonomy. They talked about how we can make our students employable. But nevertheless, there is nowhere any regulatory body talks about a uniform, same curriculum across the country. This is another misconception which we have. In the beginning, when I said Rajasthan adopted it, they had every right to change wherever they require to make changes depending on their own requirements of the local needs. And that is the same thing for all universities. All universities are autonomous. But if they were not revising the curriculum for years together, I think the responsibility was taken up by the regulatory body to create a model curriculum. When we say model, it is only model. You don't have to follow it every letter by letter. You have to innovate and add whatever is required. And that is one thing which everyone has to understand. Otherwise, many times this is a confusion in the minds of many people that when it is a model curriculum, it has to be followed word by word, all courses. I think that is not the case at all. So this is number one. When it comes to employability, I told in one of these same webinars a couple of days back, and I would like to reiterate, since Mahabharata serial is going on, we are talking about Bhagavad Gita. So I think there are three different yogas: Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. So I compared them. That I said Jnana Yoga is one where we learn information converted into knowledge through the classrooms, theory lectures, all that what we do either online or in the face-to-face mode. The next one is very important is Karma Yoga, is actually doing work. And what I mean by that is internship, hands-on practical experience, experiential learning is nothing but Karma Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is devotion, commitment. If all of this is not there in the student and the faculty, everything is futile. So our education, if it has to become holistic, we require Jnana Yoga, we need Karma Yoga, we need Bhakti Yoga. Each student who comes to a college, if he is not passionate about education, about learning, which is going to be lifelong learning, no industry will give him job. So employability will come to be a question. Why so many years still unemployability is there is the question. I think let us reflect ourselves. Are we doing all these three properly? All students who are coming to the college, engineering college, are their parents pushing them and therefore they are coming, or they are interested in engineering and therefore they are coming? I think this question has to be asked. And if they are not interested in engineering, let them become painter, let them become musician. I think we should appreciate that as well. And the Three Idiots movie has shown it in a very better light, all of this. And therefore, I think charging that this is not happening, that is not happening, this is a time where we have to reflect, we have to understand where we have not been able to do properly and put in the place all these three. And therefore, internship is made mandatory for the first time in the engineering curriculum. In the last 3 years, we have said without internship of 6 months, no graduation will come out. And medical education had this right from beginning. And that's why after 4.5 years of their education, they go for housemanship for 1 full year. Otherwise, they don't even get certificate. But in engineering, the day you complete your theory exams and some practice, of course, practicals, they are not actually hands-on. They are only some experiments actually. And then you get a job, and how can you be employable? How can you be useful? And that's why there are large number of technology-based AI tools which have come in the market. They are all with a fee. And we have also created what is known as NEET platform, National Educational Alliance for Technologies. Students can register there. There are fees of 5,000, 6,000, which is a add-on tool. In all these niche areas, you can get yourself certified, and based on that, many of the students are getting excellent jobs. And many of them are also giving free. And AICT itself has a mandate that for every 4 seats which are bought by some students who are well off, 1 seat has to be given free, which we will give it to the economically poor students, SC, ST students, OBC students. And thereby, we want to create no digital divide. Everyone should be, made use of. And there are many organizations who are saying we will give 5,000 seats money and you provide them this internship or this education through AI-based personalized learning tools. I think many things are happening. Let us be positive. Let us work hard and then come out of this crisis, which is all looming right now. We are sure that we will come out of it.
Sure. So I think we have almost arrived at the end of the session, and I want to, before we end this, we want to announce our next higher education virtual summit, which we are going to specifically focus on like overall country, but it will be focused on Pune. And I will request my team to just show the creative here, and it's like virtual inauguration of like a virtual pre-announcement of this seminar we are going to do for next month. I'm inviting all the speakers in the audience who will be inviting it here also. Pune is the hub of higher education in the country. It is one of the oldest places where the higher education has been a very, very strong. So this is your announcement, and this is a virtual launch of the poster of this one. So thank you, Prabhakar. You can remove this poster now, and let me just request each of the panelists to say one line each as a concluding remarks, like one line, and what is the silver lining in these challenging times. So I will request Pankaj Mittalji, your views in one line to conclude.
I think we should say that in every crisis there is an opportunity hidden. So, and we should see from where we can take advantage of that opportunity and make use of it to make our students the best in the world.
Thank you. Dr. Sushi Sharma ji, your concluding remarks.
I would say that this COVID-19 crisis has given us open different horizons of thinking, and we should make most use of it. And it is generating another avenue of hope.
Great. And I'm requesting Dr. Shashil Budde, sir, your remarks, concluding one-line remarks as a silver lining.
Silver lining is COVID has taught us lessons. We should take lessons from all these crises. Be innovative, be accommodative, be a change agent, and try to put in all the hard work that is required to come off successfully by commitment, passion, and working hard. That's all.
Fantastic, sir. So thanking all the panelists. बहुत बहुत सर आपका धन्यवाद और नमस्कार कि आप लोगों ने इस वर्चुअल समिट के लिए हमारे लिए टाइम निकाला. And our next speaker is like already here in the waiting room. He is Hemant from Pune, so he will be speaking next. So I am requesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So namaskar, सबको शुभकामनाएं.
Thanks well, and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.